Hello, Cave Lady here, and I'm here to talk about something very serious. I'm probably going to get myself in trouble, most likely, but I think it's pretty important. First of all, I'm getting like blown up with questions from people who have children on the autism spectrum or have PDD-NOS. I'm getting blown up with questions about how they're trying to get their kids started on the GAPS diet and they don't know where to start, or their kids are super picky eaters and they don't know how to get them to get their nutrients down. They need calories, and they just need to be on a gluten-free, casein-free diet, yet they have yeast up to here, dealing with candida and crazy kids. Then of course there's always that whole thing where, do I medicate? If you've got a kid with gut dysbiosis, meaning they have their gut bugs are out of whack, they're going to act crazy. And it's because everything in their body's crazy. They've got either candida or Ritalin or something like that. You're going to see a difference. Maybe that kid might be clearer a little bit. Maybe they're going to be able to sit down and be calm. But you know what the problem is the gut situation is getting even worse because those types of medications actually are very damaging to the gut, and then you're not treating the yeast in any way. So what you have is a child that is acting a little calmer for the time being, but their yeast is still going out of their control, or their bacteria. In my son's case, he had strep that was out of control in his body. If I would have just medicated him, then probably be dead because the strep would have taken over, and yeah, maybe he would have been a little calmer. But you really have to figure out what is causing the gut issue and go for a healing route. So many people, they go to their doctors and, maybe they're a Dan doctor, maybe they're a Defeat Autism doctor, and, that doctor's great. They've gone to one Dan conference and they can call themselves a Dan doctor, and they say, okay, this is what you need to do and everything's going to be great. We are going to go on the biomedical route. We're going to, do lots of glutathione, and we're going to do other great treatments, and we're going to get the immune system ramped up, and we're going to get the methylation system going, and we're going to do HBOT, and we're going to do all these wonderful things. And all you have to do with diet is put them on the GFCF diet, and everything's going to be great. And we know if we've gone that route, it's not going to work because there's no healing going on in the gut. What we're doing is we are taking things into our own hands, and maybe we're going to do some glutathione, which is actually wonderful. Glutathione is wonderful. But do you know what's even better is if the child's body can create its own glutathione. And the only way to do that is to fix all of the gut issues so that child can produce and recycle their neurotransmitters. They can produce all of the hormones, like the 5-HTP, all of the hormones that the child needs to function, to sleep, to do everything on its own. If we repair the gut, then the gut will respond and it will do its job. So what we have to do is we have to get down to the bottom of things. And sadly, it's a lot of work. And most of it is from a nutritional standpoint. I'm not against doing all of the wonderful things like fish and cod liver oil and probiotics and all those things, but we cannot put our kids on a gluten-free, casein-free diet and think that anything's going to get better. Do you know what's going to get better? Maybe they don't have the glutamorphine issues where they're not high as a kite from the glutamorphine or the casomorphine. Yes, so maybe you'll see, and most parents like me have gone through that, where we take it out and we see a little bit of improvement, and then you hit a roadblock very quickly. And you say, well, I'm doing what I've been told, and my doctor told me that I don't need to go on the GAPS diet because that's only for really severe children. And what I have to tell you is that's wrong, because there needs to be more gut healing. And I'm not saying that maybe you have to go on the GAPS diet perfectly, because I don't think the GAPS diet is written perfectly. It's not a turnkey thing. But what you need to do is alter the diet so that there is more gut healing. And with the GAPS diet, I have coached like lots of families, whether it has been children with extreme eczema, autism, PDD-NOS, other autoimmune, some just like diseases or conditions, like genetic conditions that their doctor said, your child has this condition and it cannot be treated with diet. And we've changed diet and seen I mean, astounding things happen. So all I have to say to the doctors that say, you know, just do a gluten-free, casein-free diet, I think that those doctors need to either go back and get some nutrition education, practical nutrition education for gut issues, or they need to hire a staff nutritionist where they can send those parents with the children to get real practical help with their diet. Or they send them to somebody that's off, you know, that's not within their own practice, that they know and that they trust, and that they have a good scorecard, and they have clients that, you know, come in and they actually feel helped. Because most parents that I talk to, they feel exasperated. They feel upset. They feel like, I've done everything I've been told. I've seen this nutritionist. I've seen this doctor. I'm doing everything that I'm told, and my child is not getting better, you know, or they've hit a roadblock, a severe roadblock. What I have to say is sometimes you have to take matters into your own. Sometimes you need to look at the small things. Sometimes you have to educate yourself, because with the GAPS diet, I've talked about it. I did a review of the GAPS book, and like dairy, they introduced dairy way too quickly. For most children, it's going to take a year to reintroduce dairy. And in the book, they introduce fermented dairy very quickly. The other thing is like the it causes so much die-off, people think that their kids are having issues. The other thing is yeast, even Saccharomyces boulardii. Yeast is another thing I would stay away from, because I've seen so much aggression and so many behavioral issues linked with yeast. So the other thing is adding nuts and things like that too early into the diet. Added very, very quickly in the GAPS diet. And if your child is prone to constipation, then you need to keep nuts out longer of the picture. And a lot of people are like, how are we going to get our protein if we don't have nuts? There's plenty of other things that have protein in them. What I really love is soaking hemp hearts and adding those to smoothies. Cook them for a couple hours or overnight, and you throw them in the smoothie. Amazing. You get really good fat, really good protein into your children. And if you have a Vitamix or a Blend-Tech or something that really can pulverate that to a smoothie creamy consistency, it's a fantastic thing to add to a smoothie. I'm super, super, super big on smoothies for children on the spectrum. For one, if you have a great straw cup that your child loves, they're really prone to wanting to drink things, especially if they're smooth and there's no chunks and they know what to expect. So that's why I'm really, really big on the high-powered blenders. You really can't go with something that's not going to give you a really smooth, creamy consistency, and be able to blend those types of things down to a really creamy, fine, no grit consistency. So that's kind of an absolute going to be tackling this type of diet. So the other thing, so protein, if your child isn't super high IgG for eggs, I think that it's fantastic. You know, somebody just commented the other day, you can pasteurize your own eggs by putting them in a 145-degree water for 3 minutes or something like that. Really big fan of raw egg yolks. Have amazing fat, amazing cholesterol. The brain needs it, the body needs it, the organs need it. You see these kids walking around and they're gray because their parents are feeding them egg whites. Really, that cholesterol, everything about that egg yolk is so good. I put like 5 egg yolks in my kids' smoothies. Not one smoothie, but like in the whole, you know, blending container. If they can tolerate that. If they can't tolerate chicken eggs, there's quail eggs, there's duck eggs. See if they can tolerate any of those things. The yolk is actually much easier to digest than the white, and that's why I'm really big on putting just the yolks in. My kids, I do 3 whole eggs, raw eggs, and a couple extra yolks, because before they couldn't really tolerate the whites very well, but then they could. And you know, you can kind of tell those things from behaviors, sleeping, their poop, if it's firm, the right color, not firm, but you know, like, you know, the way it should be, almost like frozen yogurt, whatever, that it doesn't smell foul, and you know, that super stinky, rank, foul poop that they have to grind out. You can kind of tell when something in the diet is causing issues. So those are really great sources of protein. I always add a little bit of soaked chia seeds. And then oils are the big thing, because oil, you know, a tablespoon of oil is a ton of calories. So you can get tons of calories in by adding a couple tablespoons of oil to your kid's smoothie. If they're allergic to coconut, don't do coconut. There's plenty of amazing oils. You've got avocado, olive, macadamia nut. I mean, use a spectrum of oils because you're getting all different kinds of benefits from different oils. So switch them up and use a lot of them. They actually make for a richer smoothie. And then using avocado. Avocado works as an emulsifier, so it kind of takes the oil throughout the smoothie and keeps it creamy, and it doesn't separate, and it gives a nice smooth, creamy, very palatable help to your smoothie. Eggs do that same thing, and yolks do the same thing, but maybe they can't have eggs or yolks. Check into the quail eggs, check into the other things you can get at your farmer's market, ostrich eggs, whatever. You know, great protein. What is in those yolks, I can't tell you. It's so good for you. So those are really wonderful things to incorporate in a smoothie. I like doing chicken feet bone broth because it has a really mild taste, and I actually put rosemary, lots of rosemary in that bone broth, and ginger or turmeric. You can add a couple cups of it, and then you can even sweeten it. I've gotten this Ultima electrolyte powder that I really like for my kids, and I like the grape flavor the best. I'll use that to sweeten their smoothies because maybe your kid's not ready for berries. I know if you're starting the GAPS diet, berries is not a good thing at the beginning. It's kind of like one of those, you know, raw fruits and vegetables are a little tougher. You can use a banana to sweeten it. And then you can use some of that grape Ultima powder. It's stevia sweetened, and my kids just love the flavor, and I haven't noticed any bad side effects. It's a natural powder you can get from like Swanson's or Amazon's. I'll put everything below in the link. You can get it at Whole Foods. You can get it, you know, your local New Seasons natural whatever market, but it's a great thing to throw into the smoothies. You can add water, Ultima, a banana, you get your hemp hearts, you get, maybe you have cooked butternut squash. I have those silicone trays that you can freeze things in, and you know, I cook a whole butternut squash, put it in those little containers and pop 1 or 2 out in there and put it in the smoothie because it has a really mild flavor. It's really great. It's another thing that keeps the smoothie really creamy. All this stuff sounds like super unexciting, but when your child needs fat, protein, and vitamins and minerals, the best way they can get it is foods. And these are foods that digest easily. And the last thing I'd say to add to that smoothie is some wonderful green juice. You can do, you can start with maybe you do a green apple, cucumber, and some, you know, mix up your greens. Maybe you do a little kale, a little wheatgrass, a little, you know, just mix up your greens and juice that. And then blend your smoothie, and then you add the juice in at the very end, and you just stir it in. You're not gonna blend it because we don't wanna ruin everything we just got out of, you know, juicing those amazing greens. So you mix that all in. Your kids' bodies are gonna thank you. They're gonna be like, wow, we're getting all of this amazing vitamins and minerals into our bloodstream within minutes from the juicing. They're getting fats that their body doesn't have to work through. If you've got cooked squash in there, they're getting really easy fiber to digest. If you know you've been told to do psyllium husk and flax meal and those kind of things can be so rough on an inflamed digestive system. Let me just tell you, that can cause constipation in itself. And I know it's really big in a lot of the diet world, and I'm talking from somebody who understands the gut of somebody who has, you know, severe Hashimoto's or, you know, autism or other autoimmune issues. Psyllium and flax meal are not your friends. People learn that the hard way. So a lot of people, the first thing, you know, their doctors tell them to do is run down to you know, Walgreens and get, what's that stuff called? Freaking everybody prescribes it for constipation. It's clear, you mix it up, it'll come to me, I'll post it in the box below. We're trying to actually create an environment to where your child can poop on its own, you know? So we don't wanna be, I understand if like, you know, you need to use a suppository or do an enema. Water enemas are probably the most wonderful thing you possibly could do for your child if they're constipated, because you're hydrating the colon, and that's probably the most important thing that you can do, because a lot of children don't drink enough water, so they're colon is dehydrated, and if you're actually giving it to them from the other end, they're absorbing a lot of that water that they need. And then it's also helping move the stool. So it's not just like a quick fix, and it's not like, oh, you know, I want to do suppository because I want to get the poop out, and the whole thing is getting the poop out. That's why I really like enemas, because you're actually hydrating the colon. You're doing something twofold. You're hydrating the body. So like in the Nourishing Traditions, I highly suggest this book. It's the Nourishing Traditions book of baby and child care. It talks about how if your child has a fever, to give them a little enema, and their body actually absorbs almost all of the water, and it actually brings the fever down and offers hydration to a child that may not be able to drink it. Maybe they're throwing everything up, and I think that's really brilliant. I think it's a good thing to do, and it's a good thing for a child to have water in that up that end, because it helps with everything. But I wanted to do a quick video on this, and I want to open up a Q&A in the box below, and I will do another video answering all your questions. So another question, I got a lot of emails over the weekend, and another question was, how long should my kids maybe my child had to be on a smoothie diet for over a week. And you know, that might seem harsh and out of the box, but it did so much healing you would not believe. I never completely took sugar out of my child's diet, even though his candida was out of control, because he was on antibiotics for a long time to get rid of his strep. So, and we weren't treating the yeast like I wanted to. We weren't doing an antifungal with antibiotics. So he had candida through the roof, and I couldn't take sugar completely out of his diet because I couldn't get him to drink the smoothies without it. So, you know, we just went the slower route, and the candida still died off, even though we were juicing a green apple once in a while, and he had a little banana in a smoothie. The candida actually still died off. It just took a little longer. And that was okay, because that was able to get me to get him the nutrients that he needed. And he was, and feeding wasn't like this forced thing. It was like, he liked the smoothies. You know, he begged for him in the morning. He woke up in the morning and he wanted a smoothie. So he was excited about it. So it was a good thing. And, you know, maybe he was on smoothies for a week and that seemed severe, but whatever. When I reintroduced foods that he was actually allowed to eat, he was excited to eat them. And he had so much healing within that 7 days. He had so much healing that a lot of his sensory issues actually went away. He was no longer covering his ears. He was no longer stimming. He was no longer doing many, many things that the gut issues were causing. And a lot of the sensory issues had fallen away in that short amount of time. And I remember just him being on a modified GAPS diet for the first 30 days, his language went out of control. I mean, he went from like a couple handfuls of words that you really had to pull out of him through therapy to like thousands of words in a couple months. So for someone to say, you know, diet doesn't make a difference, proof is in the pudding, honey. And I know a lot of people have, you know, gone on little hit roadblocks quickly because maybe they did the GFCF diet and they hit a roadblock, obviously. And then maybe they went on the SCD diet and they were giving their kids yogurt, and all of a sudden their kids were messed up again. And they're like, oh, we did it and it's not working. And there's all these doors and all of a sudden something's shut, you know, and they just don't know what to do. And there's nobody to help them because all the nutritionists said, no, you're doing it right. Or your doctor saying, no, you're doing it right. Diet must not, you know, play a factor in your child. You know, the problem is there's just always tweaks. There's no turnkeys. Every child is unique. And, you know, there's always going to be environmental factors. There's a lot of people that don't do a lot of research. Maybe they do all diet, but then they have their kid sleeping on a brand new mattress with the flame retardants. And then they're sleeping in, you know, those polyester flame retardant pajamas every night next to freshly painted walls. And, you know, maybe there's environmental issues that the parents are not aware of. You know, so diet isn't always the everything, but it can help so much. And whatever we can do to heal the gut, so that it's really the only way that you're going to see the body do what it needs to do. Because the gut is the immune system. It's what, like I said, creates and recycles all of the neurotransmitters. Everything that needs firing to the brain, like my child, when he was sick with all of that strep, I mean, he couldn't talk because the messages that were going out weren't being received to the brain. You know, there was too many roadblocks. There were too many things that weren't firing. And once the gut was healed, he was able to do that. He was able to have a thought and it be able to go out his mouth, and he was able to function the way he needed to function. Did we hit other roadblocks? Of course, everybody does. But then we work through them, and some of them took longer than others, but through trial and error, you figure it out. And the cool thing is we were able to heal him from all of his food sensitivities, from like 5s or 3s or whatever it was, to where all of them are 0s or in the 0 range. So, they can heal. So for my child, I tested him after 2 years, and after 2 years, they were all healed. They could have been healed way earlier than that. I just didn't want to pay to have them tested and then be disappointed, so I waited 2 years. But we were really strict, gaps-ish, for a year. We added nuts and things back in probably after a couple of months. We added raw foods back in after a couple of months. So, it's kind of, you kind of just do it slowly. And I know with kids on the spectrum, they get something and they get so excited about it. It's so hard to take it back away, but you have to know you love that child, and that child knows you love them, and giving them foods they want is not equal love, okay? You need to know, for so many people in America, for some reason, they feel like food should be a reward for things. And it's just a backwards way of thinking, because we cannot, if we give our kid that cake and ice cream now, it's going to roadblock them from healing and then be able to have it later in life, And now my child, being 8, can have cake, and he can have some ice cream, and he can have some pizza, some gluten-free pizza. He can have those things without, totally digressing, and he's still able to handle them. So I would rather, during these years when they're young, do all the hard work now. Get it over with so that they can heal and have a good life later. And they're going to love you later if you do that. And if you go the other route where you're just like, you know what? My kid deserves to have that ice cream at that party, and they deserve to have that cake, and they deserve this and they deserve that. You know what? You will all deal with the consequences. And sadly, it's on our shoulders. That kid is never going to be like, oh, well, when you were 3, you really shouldn't have eaten that. It's on our shoulders to take care of our children. And, food, it's not that big of a deal. It's there for nutrition. We've turned it into something that it's not. So I need to make this disclaimer now, in case you don't know who I am or you're new to my channel. I am not a doctor, and I'm not a certified nutritionist, and I am not anybody that you can come and see and take insurance. I am a mom that is nutritionally trained on her own, and I'm actually getting my license to be a nutritionist, but I am someone who has worked with and coached many, many families, and I have never charged a penny. I have never taken any money or thing for doing what I do. I actually quit my job as a professional model to be at home and take care of my children and heal my son. And through that whole journey, I had always wished I had somebody I could go to and tell me, oh, don't do that. You're going to regret that. And this is what worked for me, and this is what helped my child. I didn't have that person. So I kind of aspired to be that person and be able to help as many people as I can. I remember signing up on that whole Autism Speaks thing for an angel, and they were supposed to call me and help me with everything, and it never happened. And I never really had anybody that had good success with any diet. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. So I'm here to just let you know what worked for me. It worked for us and worked for all the other families that I have kind of just guided. I've gently guided, and everybody that I've worked with, I have told them, you know what? You need to take this to your doctor and see what they say and work together with your doctor with it. So all I do is say, hey, I think that this might be a good idea. Take that to your doctor and see what they think. And you know what most of the doctors say? Hey, I don't disagree with any of that. Give it a try and see if it works. That's what I mean, almost all of them have said that. They've never said, no, don't do that. They've always said, oh, that either seems like a good idea, or, it's not something I would have thought of, but give it a try and see if it works. So, and it has worked. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. I is like so many of you who, have children and have, autoimmune issues. and have been, I mean, I've been through the gamut. I've seen a couple doctors, and, you know, I finally left one because they were just like, your child needs grains. They need grains. And I'm like, he has candida through the roof and he's not healing and he's going crazy and he's scratching himself at night. What do I do? You know, just put him on the medication. Put him on the nystatin. No, nystatin didn't work. Let's keep him on fluconazole. Let's up his dose. Let's just keep the grains. You know, when I finally kicked the grains is when he healed. So it's just one of those things, you know. I don't have a doctorate, but what I have is practical experience. And sometimes you can't always trust the people that you would like to be able to trust. And it's sad, but you are the advocate for your child. And when it comes down to it, you need to pray and you need to use your intuition that God has given you. And you need to not make the decisions based on emotions or what everybody else in the world is telling you what to do. You know, God gave you that child, and you have an intuition, you have a burning desire in your gut that when someone tells you to do something and it just doesn't feel right, you know, you have the right to say, you know what, let me just think about it. Okay, let me get back to you. It's like, there's no rush for anything. I mean, yeah, if you take your child into the trauma unit and, you know, they're bleeding, you know, and then someone needs to do something. I mean, within reason. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. If you need to call 911, call 911. I'm just saying that, like, if you take your child in somewhere and they're like, we really want to do this, maybe it's experimental or this and that, and, you know, we want to, you know, catch them up on, you know, 8 months worth of vaccines. Don't get me started in one day. I'm just saying that you have an intuition and you need to be able to stop and look outside of everything and say, does this feel like a good idea? Because if there is the possibility, you can say, hey, can we wait till tomorrow? Can I sleep and pray on this? Can I make sure that this is the right decision for my child? If there is a possibility to do that, then do it. Okay? Don't ever feel rushed to do something that's not something that you have to do right away. Go with your intuition for your child. Don't just go with something that sounds easy or a quick fix. There's so many things out there that seem like they're going to be the thing. You know, oh, if I just get my child that glutathione, or if I just give him the B12 injections, everything's going to change. Everything's not going to change. You know, some things may get better, which is great. I remember when I, you know, started doing the B12 injections, and things are great. They're not the be-all, end-all, you know. Glutathione, yeah, it's good. Okay. Don't really see a difference in any of these other things. You know, yeah, there's things that you can do for your body, but guess what? Healing the gut, providing nutrients that your body can actually absorb and use is going to be the most beneficial thing, because the body's going to work the way it was designed to work. So I intended this video to be about 10 minutes and it's 29 minutes far now. But I wanted to just do this quick video. I know there's a lot of frustrated parents out there. And, you know, I'm sorry, docs, if I pissed anybody off. I'm just like, I piss people off all the time. Yeah, I get myself into some trouble. But I'm, you know, just like all those other moms, you know, and I'm not talking about my own doctor or anything like that. I'm just talking about doctors in general. And, you know, if you are treating autism and parents that have autism, make sure that you have somebody that they can see that gets nutrition for those kind of gut situation, and understands the inner workings of the gut. Understands, you know, what's a villi? You know, what is an enterocyte? What is leaky gut? Why would we want to do a gut permeability test before we do a vaccination? Do we need to check the T cell counts? All of those things. I mean, a doctor needs to be working so closely with a nutritionist for all of those things, for all of those reasons, so that they know, okay, you know, to make those educated decisions, diet, nutrition, and treating your child. So hopefully you learned something from this. Oh, please don't hate on me for the things that I say. I hope I don't, you know, piss everybody off. But, you know, I'm trying to do this to be helpful. So, okay, Q&A. So if you have questions below that you think I might be able to help with, write them below and I will do a Q&A video just to address all of those questions. You know, I addressed one person's email on this. The other person's email I misplaced. So you can go ahead and put all your Q&A down there. I'm going to try to look through my emails and email that person back. But put your Q&A down here, and I'll try to make a Q&A video within the next week. Thanks for